live stream. Happy 4th of July to everyone. Just let me set up the YouTube side and we'll get started tonight. So just take me a second. So let me get rid of that friggin' heart, that reaction thing. Oh, all right. We should be all set. And so it rained today. Finally, we didn't get any rain for about a month, over a month now. So we're getting a little rain, not much in the way of fireworks. I guess they're starting now. So I've been today I've been on and off of YouTube, and I've been watching some videos of some of the shenanigans that have been going on in this country, and it's been a wild ride with the Supreme Court and some of their decisions, and some outrageous behavior with some of our people in Congress. So I'm going to cover that today. And if anything comes up, we'll cover that too. So has anyone heard of the Trump immunity decision? So Trump got immunity from prosecution by the Supreme Court, and it was for official acts only. So some of these liberals, these woke idiots, are freaking out and not reading the fine print of the decision and the dissent. So we're gonna review this real quick, and we're gonna let a former judge explain it to everyone. All right, I'm no lawyer or anything, so let a former judge explain it. So here we go. So Judge Sotomayor decided to write a dissent on why she didn't agree with the majority. And what she decided to write was it makes the former president a king. All right? I don't think it's a fair comparison, in my opinion. So if you read the fine print of the decision, it means that he's not immune from unofficial acts while in office, which would mean a sitting president doesn't have immunity for crimes for his own personal benefit, if that would make sense to anyone. So let's have the judge explain it to us, all right? So let's
woman and constitutional scholar AOC has her own left-wing fantasy. She is threatening to impeach Supreme Court justices.
Yeah. So AOC, she's extremist. She's congresswoman from New York. She decided she doesn't like the Supreme Court's decision. So she says, I'm going to file articles of impeachment against the 6 justices that ruled in favor of the immunity decision. Now, I'm going to say this. I don't agree with all the decisions that come down the pipeline of the Supreme Court. But how dare you threaten judges because you don't like a ruling? That's not ladylike. All right. And I'll say this. I don't like Clarence Thomas. I think he's a pig. But he was appointed by George Bush Sr. And he's on the Supreme Court. So it's no reason to impeach because you don't like his vote. You don't like so let's continue.
Judge, I don't know. Maybe you thought I would come to you first, and I'm going.
The honorable.
What I took from this today that really it took me by surprise, I guess, was the dissent. So I believe it was Sotomayor wrote, if Trump orders the Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune. What, I mean, to me, that's like pitching a fit in writing. But why is she wrong there?
Well, she's wrong because this is a case that is based upon the Constitution and federal statutes where the court has said, look, when the president is engaging in issues that only he or she at some point can engage in, constitutional authority, federal statutory authority that he shares with no one, that is per se an official act. And he has absolute immunity from criminal prosecution. That does not mean that everything that a president does is an official act. They then are going to send this to a lower court to try to figure out what's an official.
So if Trump during his presidency decided to bomb Benghazi in retaliation for the attack, all right, that's an official act while president. So the U.S. attorney can prosecute Trump saying he killed innocent civilians in Benghazi, for fuck's sakes. This is just a fictional example of what is an official act. All right? This is what some of these liberals don't get, these extremists.
Versus unofficial act. Now, let's assume there's an official act that the lower court interprets.
Hey, Tracy,
what is the immunity level there?
Mm-hmm.
The presumption is that when the president is engaging in an official act, which is probably most of the stuff he does during the day, the presumption is that he has immunity from prosecution, which is a rebuttable presumption, which the prosecution must then rebut. Okay, and if it is an unofficial act, then there is no presumption of immunity. And I think that it is a brilliant decision. It's a 6-3 decision. The left is going to go crazy. I mean, the left is the left. We're not dealing with a normal country anymore. When people are like ready to impeach a Supreme Court justice because they don't align with their political ideology as the end.
Amen. It's getting to be ridiculous. So you don't like a court decision. You threaten to impeach the judge. It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. You threaten the judges for impeachment just because of political someone that's elected to office doesn't like your ruling. It's utterly pathetic. I don't know what to say about that. What else to say?
institutions in our country are being torn down day by day by people out there who are arguing to people that, this isn't right, this isn't the law. They don't know what the law is. They don't study the law. But I think that the most important part of all this is that you've got a prosecutor, Jack Smith, who has a terrible reputation in the Supreme Court. His cases have been reversed, unanimous decision, I believe 8-0 in the Supreme Court. He is a guy who goes after political prisoners. And
So okay, this Jack Smith is a prosecutor, all right, and Judge Janine is going over this guy's record, which is terrible, by the way. A lot of his cases are being overturned by the courts for various issues that he prosecutes. So this prosecutor goes after political figures, mostly Republicans. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
And what he did it with the governor of Maryland, that case was reversed also. But this court made it clear the president enjoys no immunity for unofficial acts. And by the way, we had a president who sent drones over to the Middle East and killed civilians. American civilians.
And that was in Afghanistan, by the way. We had and that was Biden who fucked that up. It's, and we don't see Congress going to impeach Biden for that because it's an official act of being a president. As much as he's a fucking dumbass. Hey, Rachel. As much as he's Biden's a dumbass. Oh, these American politicians are just damn old corrupt. I don't know how they are in Australia, Rachel, but I heard they're no better. And sometimes worse, so.
Over there. But finally, let me just say that this also involves the court that has dampened down the January 6th rioter charges, and that's going to benefit Trump as well. That's it.
Greg, does the libertarian in you kind of worry about this at all?
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking the other day, oh, my God, I just hope the president doesn't hire SEAL Team 6 to establish a coup. Sotomayor, she's a judge. She might be smart. I'm assuming she's smart. Does she actually, when they come up with these examples, it's like, the president hires SEAL Team 6 to kill an adversary. So how does this work? Hey, guys.
That would be an unofficial act, and the majority says that unofficial acts as president, you don't have immunity. So,
Trump's on the phone. Yeah, he wants us to take out Rosie O'Donnell. All right, everybody in my truck, let's go. How do they come? It's amazing how they cannot stop this hypothetical apocalyptic thinking, whether it's climate change or Trump or abortion, the Supreme Court. It's always this will lead to death and destruction. And meanwhile, back in reality, we're experiencing the results of progressivism in real time with illegal immigration, crime, inflation. They've replaced reality with fantasies of doom. And if they had lived in the real world, instead of this fantasy land that they created around Trump, they would have been able to see the reality of Joe Biden sooner than we all saw. And they would have replaced him long ago instead of allowing this entire delusion to replace everything around them. So they just thought, you know what? An invalid is a better choice than a guy who tells fibs. That's where they are. And that leads me to my eternal question. The Democrats, the media, and especially MSNBC and CNN, they're saying this election now is even more of an existential moment. Trump with the Supreme Court, possibly the Senate or the House, it's the end of the world. Joey Reid says it could be, they might just completely undo the 20th century. Then that goes back to my question. And what is it? Why are you running Joe? If you believe this could be the end of everyone's rights, end of democracy, the start of a dictatorship, why are you running the cadaver in chief? If it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't, then you really don't believe.
Yes. Sotomayor, in her dissent, decreed him king Donald Trump. That was her sarcastic rhetoric in the papers, in the ruling. That was Judge Sotomayor's opinion, which I don't see how it is by reading the decision and the fine print. But maybe this judge got emotional.
The hoaxes that you're selling. You don't.
Well, on that point, we saw that montage of media personalities, most.
Or perhaps that this judge had concerns that the federal courts cannot distinguish between an official act and an unofficial act.
And politicians literally crying, this is the end of the world, and that the Supreme
Yeah,
Court
Rachel,
is corrupt,
I assume
and that it's completely partisan. This week, in the last 7 days, we've had decisions where a judge appointed by Trump sided with the liberals, a judge appointed by Biden sided with the conservatives, and in this decision, Barrett again kind of split the baby even more and sided with the dissent on how it would work in a court proceeding.
So, in some ways, both sides do this when it comes to the decisions, depending on what court it's coming from. And they could say, well, that's a liberal judge, so that's going to happen. But these guys on the Democratic side, they don't even bother reading the opinions before. It's almost, they had their talking points beforehand. It's not like you had to read Walter Scott's Ivanhoe. It was a 5-page decision. And you had both.
Yeah, she has a point there. Some of these people, they sit there and they look at, okay, here we go. Supreme freak out. Democrats predict doomsday scenarios after SCOTUS ruling. So they look at that banner and they freak out without even Googling the Supreme Court's website and reading for themselves what the decision even entails. And they just play a clip for 30 seconds or something. And they just assume the worst, and they sit there and praise the judge for speaking out, the one judge who dissented, and they take the entire thing out of context. It's
Sheldon Whitehouse, Senator, and then AOC. They were basically using talking points that had gone out even beforehand. They don't bother even reading it. Do you remember when the Colorado case came out? This was about Colorado. The Democrats tried to say that Trump's name couldn't even be on the ballot. Right. And the Supreme Court takes the case.
Oh, yeah. Because we had the so for everyone over the pond, over the ocean. So what politicians tried to do was in some states, they says, okay, Trump is ineligible to run again for president. So the case went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, you can't do that. So then we have crybabies on the news, saying, oh, it's a threat to our democracy. Oh.
And so you had all of those people on the left, gunning for the Colorado case. They were so excited for it. And then the Supreme Court rules, and they say, actually, no, Trump's name can be on the ballot. You're not allowed to do that. And they went nuts and said, these conservative justices are horrible. And they forgot to look at the fine print. That was a 9-0 decision. That was a unanimous decision by the Supreme Court. So they're not thinking clearly.
That was an unanimous decision by the court, no dissent, no disagreement that time. So
they also are thinking that the best way to beat Trump is in the courts. It is not.
Yeah. So they think it's the best way to defeat the former president in this election is, let's charge him. Let's indict him. Well, apparently that's backfiring because if you look at the polls, if you look at the latest polls and the leaked ones, he's winning by a landslide. Trump. I wonder why.
not working, guys. The best way to beat Trump would be on policy and on out campaigning him.
Yeah.
And right now, if you ask Americans, where do you rank Trump versus Biden on the issues you care about? Economy, immigration, crime, even preserving democracy. Trump is beating them on by double digits on all of those points.
Kevin, we're out of time. No, there's one important question I want to ask you. Are you breathing a sigh of relief because this means President Biden probably won't be convicted for opening the border and letting all those murders and rapists in?
I'm not in that.
Okay.
Here's the issue. And to Dana's point, the vast majority of Supreme Court cases are 9-0, right? All the justices, regardless of ideology, are together on that fact. And to also Dana's point, I'm more interested in beating Donald Trump at the ballot box. I don't want to be saved by any court. I don't want to be saved by Alvin Bragg. We've got.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. I'd rather defeat someone in the ballot box on policy or ideology than sitting there taking them to court saying, ugh.
Got to beat him in November at the ballot box and not worry about these courts intervening.
All right. Well, I feel smarter. All right. Coming up, Nancy Pelosi's ridiculous new spin about Biden's dreadful debate performance.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily.
So let's talk about Biden's performance. All right, for a second. So Biden's or debate performance. Some Democrats want Sleepy Joe to drop out. So there's a rumor going around that they want Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom, the one who ruined California, to step in. Now these are just in the rumor stages. But I watched several videos, several clips of our vice president, and I don't know whether to believe Kamala Harris or not, but she says, "Oh, we're going to support our president." After okay, she lets people run across the border, no background checks, no screenings. They come from all around the world. They come in and some of these people are actually committing crimes. All right, since Biden took over. So Miss Harris was, at the beginning of the administration, was appointed border czar. She couldn't even handle that assignment correctly. So we're listening to Kamala Harris, or Camilla, and she's saying, and some people from the DNC are saying, oh, so Biden's been good to us, so we're going to be good to him. We're screwed. We're fucked, or whatever the deal is. So that's the message I'm getting. So some of these commenters you're listening to in these videos is just rampant speculation and rumors. All right. So that's all I'm hearing on that end is rumors. All right. Just talk that some of these political commentators on here need content, just like everyone else, you know. They need content, they need views, and they need something to talk about. So they heard something about Michelle Obama, and they heard Gavin Newsom's name dropped in there, and they just spin it. So, speaking of Gavin Newsom, he decided, this is the first time this was dropped, but California had tax proposition on the they're going to put it on the ballot, and so this proposition that was up for vote was a new law or constitutional amendment to the California Constitution that would require all tax increases to be approved by the voters, which I'm 100% for it. All right. I'm 100% for that. But Gavin Newsom decided to sue and go up to the California Supreme Court and take that right away from people, from his own constituency, and take away democracy from the people. So there's that one for you. They only agree with democracy if it benefits them. So yeah, that kind of hurts in a way, you know. I agree with laws like that, like you can't increase someone's taxes unless you get a majority vote on it. At least the people have a say at it. So the next Supreme Court ruling, all right? So there's the January 6th ruling, all right, by the Supreme Court. So one statute was gutted by the court, all right? It wasn't applied lawfully, all right, which was obstruction of an official proceeding, all right? Now, on January 6th, I was in a very good mood that day. I knew that the election results were going to be certified that day. It was like blah, blah, blah. Hip, hip, hooray, you know. And this was in the afternoon, maybe 5 o'clock, close to 6. And I get told by my brother that there's a mob outside the Capitol building. And I said, oh, how lovely. So I turned on the TV. So I turned on the TV, and there they were. And I said, what's that crowd doing? You know, I saw a majority of them with signs. They're lawfully protesting. And I said, okay, nothing wrong with that. It's not like anything like it's going to do any good. It's not like those signs or chants with the megaphone was going to do any good. But they had the right to be there. If anyone agreed with them or not, because the First Amendment gives them the right to protest. Okay? It gives them the right to protest. Now, I started to see some motion. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on here? So then they're announcing, on the news that part of the crowd entered the Capitol building. And I said, uh-oh, I thought the Capitol building was closed. So, not too long afterwards, I'm seeing live pictures from inside the Capitol. A few of the live cameras, ladies, were from the Senate chamber and the House chamber, because what we have in this country is both chambers of Congress. It's televised live, all right, on cable TV. So you have the Senate and the House. They have TV cameras or whatever. So the press decided to tune into those to see what was going on, but what I didn't know was that the reporters went in with the small crowd that just forced their way into the Capitol. All right, the Capitol building. So there was photographic evidence that some of the reporters were shaking their hands and asking for interviews. So this makes me beg the question or ask it. So if major news outlets followed them in there, okay, they must have not been vandalizing property or being violent, okay, at that point. Because reporters from major networks and newspapers, they were taking selfies with the suspects. They were taking video footage. They had a cameraman there. And they didn't see them as a threat to their personal safety. All right. So I found that awfully suspicious. All right. We didn't see this footage until probably hours later. However, suddenly on the TV screen shows a few of the well-known ones from January 6th show up on the screen. That Jacob guy. Remember the guy with the horns walking down the hall? And then went into I don't know which chamber it was. I don't know if it was the Senate chamber or the House chamber. So he starts he looked like he had no clothes on, but he actually had clothes on. It was and they were acting extremely I don't know what the word for it is. Not goofy. Worse than goofy. You know, it was like there was one guy on there, or one, I don't know if it was a guy or a female. I don't remember the gender, but they were like picking up the phone and dialing, and I felt embarrassed. All right, during January 6th when they went in there, because are they representing us, the people that don't always agree with Democratic policy, or don't always agree with Republican policy? You get what I'm saying? So they were an embarrassment. All right. And then we see photos. Then we see video footage of them breaking into Nancy Pelosi's office, that crook, and taking photos and going through her desk and trying to get on the computer. And they look like total dipshits, total idiots, thinking if they went in there, all right. They went into that, they went in there, caused a little ruckus, acted like total goofs, that they would change the result or intimidate a vote count from the Electoral College. Did they actually think they could stop it? Damn. Of course, it could have been. It could have been what Trump called rigged or stolen. But here's the thing. Trump couldn't prove it to the burden required by the courts. So guess what? He was screwed. All right. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just the way it was. All right. Instead, we got someone with dementia who needs to be tucked in for his afternoon naps in the Oval Office by his wife. And can't even remember, needs a teleprompter just to speak. Everything's written out for him, and he can't even remember that. So they thought, so the few that actually went into the Capitol that day, went into the building, to scare or try to intimidate. It didn't work. Yes, both chambers of Congress fled, went into hiding, and then once everything was clear and hunky-dory, then they went back and continued their business. All right? But the whole thing was embarrassing. I'll just say that this is my opinion of watching news coverage from that day. I was embarrassed to be an American that day. Hey, Paul. I was embarrassed. Okay? Of the way a select few that decided to come and protest acted. Okay? But I don't agree with what Biden's Justice Department did. They decided to take the whole group, over 350 protesters, and charge them under a one-size-fits-all statute. Okay? They decided to charge them under a one-size-fits-all of obstructing an official proceeding. All right? Now, did a select few do that? Maybe. The ones that went in and acted like friggin' idiots. All right? But not everybody went in to the building. Now, there was no evidence presented, all right, to my knowledge, that they tried to start a fire. They tried to do any destruction of while there. All right. So that wouldn't fit, would it? Now, don't twist my words, all right? So if one of them idiots decided to try to start a fire in the Capitol building, they should be charged with attempted arson, all right? And hauled off to jail. Okay? But not everyone in that crowd was guilty of that top charge. And the Supreme Court ruled, hey, Justice, hey, Biden's DOJ, you overstepped your bounds. You can't do that unless you meet certain criteria. All right? So this is becoming what's known as the Fisher decision. All right? The bounds, the pathway is kind of confusing to me since I'm not an attorney. So they're actually setting up a standard to actually charge them with that. But not everyone that was there fits that standard. Holding up a sign outside the Capitol building with a sign that says "Stop the Steal." All right? Stop the steal. All right? That's perfectly legal. If anyone agrees with the message or not. Okay, Paul, you're absolutely right there. All right? Okay? So, yeah, I could agree with that because guess what? We're going to get to that, Paul, actually. All right? So, I went to sleep that night. All right? Woke up. And they're sitting there pointing the finger at guess who? They're pointing the finger at Trump. And I'm like, did he go on TV and say, come on down, come and vandalize property, come steal government property? Did he actually say that? No. He said something along the lines of, if you don't like it, okay? So when Biden took office, which was a total disgrace, all right, he started to reverse everything Trump accomplished. If you agree with it or not, that's on you. But then came that yeah, Paul, I agree. You had that small amount of fucking dummies that made the Trump supporters look fucking stupid. And I even said before, Paul, that on that day, I saw those small amounts of dummies. It just took a few, Paul. It just took a damn few of them. All right? It just took, the guy with the horns, Paul? You know what I'm talking about? That Jacob Chansley or whatever his name is. I don't know if I said his last name right. But he was the number one embarrassment of the group. All right? The lady on the phone, and it was like, then you had the one that decided to take souvenirs. He was an idiot too. So when Biden took office, he decided to start undoing some of the things Trump did, like the immigration policies, and now we're shit up a creek because of that. We got high inflation, and we all know what's going on with that. I don't have to explain that to you. But then we got that January 6th committee. Everyone remember that? Hoax of a committee? So let me talk about that committee real quick. All right. And Paul is absolutely right with what he said on some of them were not even Trump supporters. They were activists there to stir up an already pissed off population. And that's actually one of the pieces of evidence that was known about days or a week or two before this even happened. So, all right. So we thought that, so at first I thought, okay, January 6th committee, they're going to actually investigate what's actually happened on January 6th. No, they didn't. It was actually a whole joke. So it turns out that they violated House rules. All right. The exact procedure was supposed to be they're supposed to contact before any committee is actually formed. They have to contact the minority leader. Okay. And they have to put so many of the opposite political party on that committee. Okay. So, since at that time, the Democrats had control of the House, they had to contact the minority leader. Okay. And it was the minority leader's job, okay, to appoint people from the House to sit on that sham of a committee. Okay? So it was, I don't know who it was. Was it McCarthy at the time? I forget who it was, the minority leader, but they had hey, Wyoming. So they had to ask the minority leader, which was the Republicans, for I think they had to have almost an equal amount of, it had to be bipartisan, all right, to investigate the January 6th hiccup. They didn't do that. What they did was the minority leader, which was the Republicans, tried to put people on that committee, and guess what Nancy Pelosi did? Guess what Nancy did? She said no. She did the picking. Oh yes, and due to the January 6th committee, Miss Wyoming Adventures decided to vote out her lovely representative, Liz Cheney, who was picked by Pelosi for being a yeah, Wyoming. You remember that you voted that your state voted Liz Cheney out of the primary. Great job, by the way. And then they had Adam Kissinger, or Adam Kiss-Ass, who was actually kissing Pelosi's ass. So Nancy Pelosi only allowed 2 Republicans. She's supposed to have, I think, 4 or something on there, 4 or 5. And it was supposed to be a 13-panel committee, according to House rules. They only had 9. It was supposed to be an almost equal. Oh, I'm glad you like her. I'm glad you like her. You going to vote for her again, Wyoming? So, there's supposed to be 13 members of that committee. There was only 9, only 2 Republicans. It was supposed to be almost even on there. And another breach of House rules. All right. And the minority leader was supposed to pick who goes on that committee. Okay. Nancy Pelosi could only pick the Democrats that went on the committee. All right. This is what I learned today while I'm digging through the whole January 6th fiasco committee. And I thought it would be, at first, I thought when I heard the idea of a January 6th committee, so, oh, okay, they're going to investigate what actually happened before this happened. They're gonna interview, okay, this person, that person. They're gonna find out what people knew and when, and perhaps there would be some kind of, that word accountability that people on YouTube in this community don't like. Oh, good job, Wyoming. Never happened. Okay, that they were going after, it was a sham committee, in my opinion, to go after the Trump administration. So what did they do? They subpoenaed Trump's staff. So it was practically a sham committee to organize targeted harassment. And that's all that committee was. The January 6th committee was. It was targeted towards Republicans, and it wasn't, and it wasn't what you call getting to the truth. Now, if they wanted to get to the truth, I'll say this. Why didn't they call the DC mayor? All right. Give him a subpoena. Ask the DC mayor, what did he know 2 weeks before? Call the FBI director. What did he know 2 weeks before? Don't stop there. Call Nancy Pelosi. Ask what she knew. But they couldn't do that, could they? They couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. But if they did, guess what they would have found? Something I knew about at the beginning. It was no shock that a few of the protesters, so-called protesters, or AKA rioters that day, were members of the Proud Boys. Does anyone know who they are? They are a violent white supremacist group. All right, they're like far right. They're extremists, even in the Republican Party, and they went there to start trouble. Yup, I was just getting to that, and Pelosi was notified by the FBI because guess what? One of them was arrested coming into D.C. So, guess what? Extra security was requested. Pelosi, as Wyoming Adventures just mentioned, turned it down. Oh. Let's just let it happen and then just point the finger at Trump later. Or, oh, it's no big deal. It's no big fucking deal, right? If something happens, or she didn't take it, she laughed and didn't take it seriously because a few of them were arrested already. So it was okay, it can't be that big of a threat, right? Wrong. So you have that's who Paul was talking about. These little brains the size of marbles. The brain capacity. And a few of them, when the police went to go interview them, okay, this is I don't know if it was the Capitol Police or the FBI or the whatever agency. I don't know which agency it was. I'll just say law enforcement, all right? They went up to some of these airheads and they said, why are you harping on me? Go over and harass Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, when I heard that, my jaw dropped. So the law doesn't apply to you either? It doesn't apply to you? For being a son of a bitch? But you just point the finger and say, go harass them? So this whole January 6th thing was a big ruse, in my opinion. All right? This whole January 6th and committee, and now that there's a resolution in the House of Representatives to turn down the committee's entire findings. And I agree with that. Why would I accept a committee's report that wasn't bipartisan in nature, was totally unfair, didn't call the right witnesses, The only reason for existing was to harass the Trump administration. It didn't get at the truth. Now, I'll take more credibility. I'll give more credibility to the 9/11 Commission because that was more bipartisan and both sides of the aisle cooperated with each other. They sat there and worked together. All right. It wasn't this side. It wasn't red against blue. It was an attack on everybody. All right. It was a total attack on everybody. Oh, thank you so much, Rachel, for the membership gifted. Thank you so much, Rachel. Oh, and thank you for the $20, sweetie. Yeah, it definitely needs to be bipartisan, Wyoming, you know? Not any of this bullshit that's it's blue against red. No more dividing people in this country, you know? I'm fucking sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it, you know? I'm sick of the mainstream media sitting there. It's like, wow, you know, we had these reporters that aren't legal, that aren't lawyers. Yes, I am on Rumble, Wyoming. I'm on both platforms tonight. So see here. So let me find the video. So we got a new report on the Hunter Biden conviction. So before we go, let me just get rid of. Oh, they're off. Okay. So let's review this. All right. So just to be fair, all right, I don't like everything Trump stands for. Like, I don't agree with his gay policy against the LGBTQ community. I don't agree with him on everything. All right. I don't agree with Trump on everything. All right. But he was 10 times better than Biden any day. All right. So we're gonna review this Hunter Biden's laptop. All right. So what happened back then was, guess what? Right before the election, this was during, I think it happened during early voting, actually. It happened weeks before the actual election, all right? Rudy Giuliani got an email from someone. It was a computer store in Delaware saying that Hunter Biden never picked up his laptop. He sent it in to get fixed. And there was plenty of damning stuff on it. So the guy, I think the computers repair guy wanted to get paid or something. So Giuliani sent him the repair bill. I don't know if it was whatever happened. He wanted to get rid of it. And so the New York Post or whatever decided to run the story of what was on Hunter Biden's laptop. So when that story came out, Facebook and Twitter decided to censor the news publication. Go figure, right? Trying to interfere with the election. Why doesn't Facebook or Twitter just let the people make up their minds by looking at the evidence? All right, that's just how I view it. So if our current president is a crook, people should know the truth. Blah blah blah. They shouldn't leave it to Facebook and Twitter executives to make that decision for us. So oh yeah, Wyoming. I saw those pictures. A lot of them are so bad. I can't even show them on YouTube. I can't show them because they're so nasty. I get struck down like that. All right, because you know Wyoming. I can't show those. I can't comment. I can't do commentary on those, or most of them. I could probably do commentary, Wyoming, on the text messages, but that's about it. The photos and the videos, I can't even do commentary on those because it's so disgusting. So, all right, let's
Welcome back. A new congressional report released this week revealed more about the 51 ex-intelligence officials who signed that letter calling Hunter Biden's laptop Russian disinformation just weeks before the 2020 election. The report cites former CIA acting director Michael Morell, among others, working with the CIA. Morell previously told Congress that he helped organize that letter after then Biden senior campaign official, now Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, reached out to him days after the New York Post broke the Hunter Biden laptop story. The CIA says both Morell and former CIA Inspector General David Buckley had contracts with the agency on the day the letter was released, October 19th, 2020. The CIA also adds both Morell and Buckley held agency clearance at that time. The New York Post reports Morell denies that he was a contractor with the CIA at that time, saying he cannot explain why the agency would have him listed as a contractor when he claimed.
Oh, bullshit. You were a contractor. All right. I don't believe this Morell guy, He flatly denied he was a contractor when contacted by the Post. Yeah, if the documents say so, it's most likely the truth. But this is the CIA we're talking about, all right? But Here's the thing, all right? I do agree that the CIA did lie and tell the public that this laptop was fake and was Russian disinformation, which was, we all know this is bullshit. So we all know now it is.
Claims he wasn't. At the same time, John Ratcliffe was the most senior sitting intelligence official. He was director of national intelligence at the time. They did not ask him to sign the letter, presumably because he said the complete opposite, telling me directly before the election that the laptop was in fact real and in fact was not Russian disinformation at all. Watch.
Let me be clear. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that. And we have shared no intelligence with.
Bingo. Look at this. So, Radcliffe, all right, John Radcliffe, former director of national intelligence. So he's saying there's no intelligence that supports Hunter Biden's laptop being Russian disinformation. So, and then there's another operation going around saying that it is. And we all know that Russia was a big hoax by Democrats. And we all know that, we all saw that report, right?
Chairman Schiff or any other member of Congress that Hunter Biden's laptop is part of some Russian disinformation campaign. It's simply.
Yeah, Adam Schiff actually lied to Congress during the Trump impeachment. So there's that for you.
Not true.
Joining me now with reaction is the man himself, former director of national intelligence, John Ratcliffe, along with former House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Devin Nunes. Gentlemen, it's great to have you both here this weekend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Maria.
Great to be with you.
John, I want to kick things off with you. Give us your take on this Intelligence Community 51 report, how the CIA contractors colluded with the Biden campaign to mislead American voters right before the 2020 election. This, of course, released this week by Congress. And Jim Jordan.
Yeah. Well, as you said, Maria, we all knew that Hunter Biden's laptop was real. In fact, Joe Biden's own Department of Justice had to admit it into evidence reluctantly. We all.
So the DOJ had to admit that laptop into evidence. So what does that tell you? It's real. That laptop is real. All right.
Also knew before that these 51 so-called former intelligence officials engaged in a scheme to, as you said, mislead the American people just 2 weeks before the presidential election. What's new about this?
So who's interfering with an election? Okay. Republicans or Democrats? That would be Democrats. All right. Desperate to win.
Reporting out of the House is, as you correctly point out, is this notion that some of these supposedly former intelligence officials were not former at all and were under contract and had relationships with the FBI and I mean with the CIA. And the reason that's significant, Maria, is the CIA is supposed to be apolitical and is charged by law under the Hatch Act and other restrictions from engaging in political activity. What made this letter okay from one perspective early on was all of the assertions that these were former officials acting in their private capacity.
Okay. So anyone not familiar with the Hatch Act, I'm going to explain it to you. All right. My uncle was a federal employee. He was law enforcement. And he retired now. So they couldn't even have a picture. They couldn't even have a shrine to the sitting president. Okay? That's how strict they were. They had to separate themselves from politics and focus on the law. That's how the Hatch Act works. You have to be politically independent. So
now the CIA has admitted, and there's testimony here, that at least some of these individuals were under contract with the CIA, which means Hatch Act violations and perhaps more serious criminal violations under Title 18 for election interference. So while the House has done some good work here, this really requires a deeper investigation, one that the Biden administration won't undertake.
Because my uncle told me the story of there was an employee where he worked, and he had like a little shrine to Obama, and his picture and like a candle or whatever. He was like a god to him, whatever. So supervisors way up came in and saw it, and they took everything because it was a Hatch Act violation. So,
and really what has to happen here, Maria, is that when President Trump is sworn into office, a new CIA director, a new CIA inspector general, and a new attorney general for a Trump administration need a deeper investigation and potential criminal referrals here. And the other thing I would say is, regardless of how all of this plays out, all of those former officials and current officials that were involved in orchestrating this should be irrevocably and permanently stripped of any security clearances or affiliation with the intelligence community. Look, Maria, that we have what's called a debarment list, where we put companies and individuals that defraud the government on a list and say, you're a bad actor, you can't be affiliated or do business with the government anymore. That needs to take place with these officials, so this kind of political interference can't occur anymore. And I just think this whole sordid affair really lays open the political rot that still takes place within our institutions like the CIA, just as Devin and I experienced with the FBI and the Department of Justice with the first interference in 2016 with the Russia collusion hoax. The same thing happened with the intelligence community here.
Yeah, that was a hoax, and Adam Schiff sat there and lied his ass off. And Nancy Pelosi, she lied her ass off. They all lied. Just because Hillary Clinton was a bad candidate and lost, they had all these sour grapes or whatever. They had sour grapes and lost an election. So they had to sit there and call everyone that supported Trump a Russian asset. Just to point the finger and say, and divert the blow smoke.
In 2020 with this Hunter Biden laptop lie.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk to both of you, because I lived it along with you guys. You were both incredible truth tellers during the Russia collusion lie, and there was no accountability for that, Devin. All those people who lied and made up stories about Trump. So what, of course, they did it again. They did it again right before the 2020 election by lying about the Hunter Biden laptop. And the media takes their direction from these people. I want to show a Politico headline. This Politico headline is right after when the letter came out. And the Politico headline says this. You ready for this, Devin? Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. Dozens of former intel officials say. Okay, so they say it may be Russian disinformation.
So you see this so-called article? This is what I call fake news. All right. So they take the word of this one or that one. Who's their source? Adam Schiff or Hillary Clinton?
Information. The media gets it and runs with it. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. Weeks before the election, that's election interference. Devin, how do you see it?
Well, what's clear is that disinformation was, in fact, those political headlines, which is exactly what Blinken, the current Secretary of State, wanted. I think there's more here, too. This goes back. We all remember the Russia hoax because we were deeply involved in it. But don't forget, this goes back to the IRS scandal. It goes back to Benghazi. And why do I bring up Benghazi? Because the two characters that supposedly were contractors for the CIA at the time that this letter went out, both Buckley and Morell were deeply involved in what? The Benghazi scandal. So it's scandal after scandal. The question is the politicalness nature of what's happening to the intelligence agencies, is it ever going to end? And I think John Ratcliffe makes a good point. It's the Department of Justice here that has control over the FBI. The CIA is not supposed to be involved in domestic politics. The only way this is solved is that there has to be a special counsel, a real investigation by a Trump Department of Justice that goes into the FBI, asks the tough questions, and then gets to the CIA. That's the only way that this will ultimately be fixed.
And I'm wondering if you two gentlemen are going to be those two who actually makes those decisions. You, Devin Nunes, running the CIA, and you, John Ratcliffe, being the Attorney General. I want to get your take on how to fix things because, look, in this report, John Ratcliffe, okay, it says that the CIA alerted the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
So how do you think, everyone in chat, how this could be fixed? I think a special prosecutor would be a great idea. Have someone that's non-biased, an outside agency look into it that has no stake in the outcome whatsoever. I think that's what they should be doing with police officers. Have an outside agency look into it. They have no interest in the outcome whatsoever. So what the results would be. So why not for this?
About the draft of the Hunter Biden statement. Now, you were the director of the National Intelligence Office. So tell us what happened. Did they actually call your office and say, we're releasing this letter? Couldn't you have shut it down right then and said, no, you cannot go public with this letter because it's absolutely not true?
Well, as you know, Maria, our interview took place on national TV the day before this letter came out, where I said this is clearly not Russian disinformation. And again, this was a letter that didn't come from the CIA. It came from former officials outside acting in their private capacity. So we were told. But now we're finding out that it went through the pre-publication clearance review board at the CIA, that there were individuals within the CIA that apparently knew this was taking place and would have known and been privy to the same information that I had, which was that the laptop was the subject of an FBI investigation into Hunter Biden for tax fraud and Foreign Agent Registration Act violations. So anyone at the CIA...
Whoa! So Hunter Biden was under investigation by the FBI for tax fraud? Whoa! So he wasn't paying his taxes. All right. So remember, everyone, they got Al Capone for not paying his taxes. Al Capone they thought was untouchable until they got him for tax evasion. Everyone remember that from history? Interesting fact.
That had this knowledge and participated would be the subject of that investigation that both Devin and I referenced. Obviously, if I had the authority, ability, or knowledge to stop this, I would have done that. But the CIA isn't run by the DNI. The CIA is run by the CIA director. And that's why it will be important for President Trump. And I can just tell you, Maria, you talk about, moving forward. President Trump very much wants the CIA to return to its proper role, to be apolitical, to be collecting and analyzing intelligence in the way that the silent Cold War, warriors helped us win the Cold War. And he is intent on doing that. I mean, think about it, Maria. The two biggest election interference campaigns in our country took place in 2016 and 2020 to stop Donald Trump. And it wasn't by China. It wasn't by Russia. It wasn't by Iran. It was by political.
It was by our own. It was by people in our own government. It was people in Congress. It was by the DNC. All right.
Political actors on the left within our own institutions, like the CIA, within the intelligence community, within the FBI, within the Department of Justice. And I can just tell you, That is mission number one for Donald Trump when he takes office in January of 2025.
Yeah, what about that, Devin Nunes? I mean, this keeps happening. You are both students of the intelligence community for years. How do you clean this up? Can they ever return to what they're doing? They were doing, as John just said, they were doing exactly what they're supposed to be protecting the rest of the world from doing. They were doing it, interfering in the election.
So the first thing that has to happen is the department.
So our own government agencies were interfering. 2, damn, be honest. Honesty is the best policy.
Department of Justice, all of the Obama era people, and that's really what this is about. This is about the Obama era people who are still running the Department of Justice. They have to be cleaned out top to bottom. The same goes for the FBI. The FBI, the new FBI building that's being built right now in the Washington, D.C. area, I mean, that needs to be stopped. The last thing we need are more people in the FBI working in Washington, D.C. That can be stopped by new President Trump administration. And then lastly, as it relates to the CIA.
Well, Trump can probably fire a bunch of people if he can, you know? That's one thing he can do. He could fire probably the CIA director. He could probably find a new FBI director. But that can only go so far. It would have to, if the corruption in the agencies goes way within, it's harder, you know, because you can't just because from what I'm hearing, you can't just fire an FBI agent. You can't just fire someone from the Secret Service, unfortunately. So you have to you have to be creative, you know?
There's been too many people at the CIA, too many contractors, too many former CIA people, way too many people in Washington. Where the CIA is best is at the point of the spear. What does that mean? That means out abroad, actually doing their job that they're hired to do, which is to gather intelligence, to keep us safe in the United States, and to make sure that we're helping our allies gathering intelligence so that in John's role and my old role in the Congress, that the policymakers or at the executive branch can make good decisions. So I think those are simple things that need to be done. They're kind of no-brainers, and they're easily things that Donald Trump will do.
What do you both of you want to say about the debate? I mean, how?
Well, I just thought of something that may have not been thought of. If you want to get rid of corrupt people in the government, you can just give them a pink slip. You don't really need a reason. You just have to downsize an agency, so to speak. If that makes sense to everyone. It just came to me, you know. You'd have to give them unemployment benefits and everything, or let them keep their benefits, or let them retire, but at least they're out. At least they're out, you know? But I don't know how that would work, because in some places, I think it's in the federal government, seniority means everything. If they're in there for 20 years, they can take another position. Somewhere else, it's I think it would take some legislation from Congress as well, you know, to fix this little crony problem in Washington. But in a way, they don't want to do anything because the system works for them. You know, it works for the top 1%. It works for the donors who donate to these politicians. They own these politicians. So you get what I'm saying? They don't want anything to change. Do you get what I'm saying? They don't want anything to really change in Washington, regardless of what political ideology you are. If you're Democrat or you're Republican or you're Libertarian or what your it is. Both sides of the aisle are corrupt. Because guess what, everyone? The inconvenient truth is corporate America funds these candidates that we get. Now, the media, they're owned by the top 1%, corporate America. So the owners of these networks are going to have their views broadcasted, all right? Like it or not. So the majority of these networks, they're left, liberal leaning. So what are they going to do? They're going to report everything biased. I'm not, okay, all right. Fox News is biased. They're usually to the right. I will admit that, but I don't think they're as bad as the Communist News Network or NBC or CBS, because they're.
Oh, how frightened should we be that we have an incoherent commander in chief right now, which was basically in everybody's face, the world watching on that debate stage on Thursday? Jevin.
Well, I would say this, that everybody around the world knows this. They've known it for a long time. I have long speculated that Biden was not going to be the nominee. The problem is that the Obama people who have tried to stop Biden from running for the last year, they're running out of options. And here's the problem. They had everything orchestrated correctly. They had all the people, the right people at the DOJ, all throughout the government. What did they get wrong? They can't control Biden himself. So look, right now there's a bunch of.
I don't agree with you, sir. I don't agree with you. I'm going to tell you why. They can control Biden 100%. He's their little puppet with dementia, all right, or Alzheimer's or whatever you want to call it. So you take a paper in. I like to sign, Mr. President. He asks a few questions, signs it, and then has the servant or his wife tuck him in for his afternoon nap. All right, he's the perfect puppet to put into office, and he's perfectly controllable. I'm going to disagree with that statement. All right. Now, Trump, on the other hand, is uncontrollable. I will say that. He doesn't like to be told what to do. He doesn't like to be ordered around. And hell isn't going to be walked all over. All right. I think that's why there's such an opposition to Trump, because they know how the guy is. This is just my opinion, of course, but I could be wrong on Trump, and they can't control Trump's mouth, what comes out of his mouth. All right. He has said some disgusting things in the past. And I might, with me, it's like, what'd you say that for? Or I don't like his personal life. He did some rotten things, but I don't like him as a person. I don't like Trump as a person. All right. That's just me, But I'd rather have if I had it my way, I'd rather have a president that's, what do you call it? More charismatic. All right. But we got what we got. The right can't produce anything better right now than Donald J. Trump. All right. This is just my opinion. Some people may agree, some may disagree with me, but that's all right. Because we're supposed to be America. This is supposed to be America, and we're supposed to have freedom of speech, all right?
Theatrics going on. It's hard for us to know exactly what's going on, but there's meetings at Camp David, stories leaking out that they're trying to get Biden out of the race. I don't know. Maybe Biden's negotiating his surrender with the Obama people. We just don't know. It's hard for us to know.
John, final word.
Yeah. Well, Maria, I looked through everything through a national security lens. And as I watched on Thursday night, did President Biden, as commander in chief, project strength? did Russia, China, Iran, did our adversaries think that they saw a commander-in-chief who would, if necessary, act decisively with American hard power to protect American interests? And I think the answer is very clearly no. But the contrast was also there. You heard Donald Trump, who looked into the camera and said, Vladimir Putin didn't take an inch of land from anyone when I was president, and he won't when I'm president again. That's peace through strength personified. And I think, that came through clearly in a message to our allies and our adversaries that the last 3.5 years of the United States getting pushed around all over the globe, those days are coming to an end. And the other thing is, usually in these debates, Maria, there's both sides.
Well, you do have a point there, sir. Well, we didn't have one war or one extended incident overseas. Well, yes, Trump did authorize some bombings, but that's with any presidency. All right. But we didn't have an extended incident started by him. All right. Well, I will say Afghanistan was inherited by President Trump. So, and look what Biden did afterwards. So, he screwed it all up. He's a failure. So,
sides claim victory. This is the first time in my life there was an undisputed, clear knockout winner where everyone said there was a winner and a loser. And the winner was Donald Trump. And right now, America needs a winner.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you. Very important discussion about what we are all witnessing in real time. Former House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, former Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe. Thank you for your service, gentlemen. We so appreciate you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
yeah, I could see that, Wyoming. I could see that. And the other thing that actually concerned me about January 6th, Afghanistan was because of Bush. We all know that. It's nothing, no secret. But the other thing that people seem to forget about January 6th was 2 bombs were placed one was at the DNC headquarters, and the other one was at the RNC. Okay, so it wasn't just an attack on Congress. Okay, so they were duds. They were bombs that never went off. They were supposedly found within a sweep of the place. I find that actually suspicious. By the way, I don't think they ever charged anyone with it. That could have been an act of those Proud Boys. All right. But if there were actual other offenses committed on January 6th, these people should have been charged, in my opinion, with them, not with this obscure statute. All right. And these woke idiots in the House are threatening impeachment because they don't agree with the Supreme Court decision. All right. Not everyone agrees with these decisions. Not all of them, anyway. Nobody does. Okay. But you don't just sit there and threaten a judge or judges. You don't threaten the judiciary just because you disagree. It's insane what some of these politicians are doing these days. It's just insanity. So yeah, we all know a lot of what happened, but it's like it puts bad taste in our mouth sometimes, you know. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and I wanted to do a political live for the 4th of July, and happy 4th, everyone. So I want to thank Rachel Townsend for a gifted membership and for the $20. I really appreciate it. And I'll see everyone another time, all right? So I see Dee Dee is live, so head over there, all right? So, all right, everyone. I'll see everyone over there. All right. Bye-bye.